This is the making of Papadopoulos and Sons.
Turn over, please.
One, take one.
Split track.
Set.
Okay, stand by. We're set. And action.
At the very beginning, we have a very successful businessman who's made his fortune in Greek food manufacturing. We find out very quickly that he's come to this country with very little, and he's a very successful businessman. He lives in a huge house. He's got 3 children, but his wife has passed away. So he's detached from his kids, he's detached from his life, and really detached from his roots. Harry, our hero of the story, has over-leveraged himself and
goes bust due to the crashing of the banks.
all 8,000 members of staff have been asked to leave while the bank is put into liquidation. Forgot what I was going to say.
As a consequence, he is forced to reunite with his brother, who is a wayward creature.
Oh, sorry. Duck. I said duck.
He calls Spiros, he calls him in and says, listen, this and that, that's the situation. We need to sell the 3 brothers because I need some cash and I need to just get by temporarily. And Spiros thinks about it and he says, no, we can't do that.
Their only asset is a fish and chip shop, which the 3 children didn't know existed. So they pack off and move to the fish and chip shop.
And he also meets Sophie, who is part of the accounting firm, who is advising him on his business deals. Sophie sort of helps him along the way.
It all seems to be going well for getting the house back.
So in the end, he chooses. What happens in the end?
And then the family have to make their mind up between riches and real happiness.
I would say it's a story of family coming together. It's quite nice, and learning to appreciate what they have rather than what they used to have.
And it's a story of them rediscovering themselves, their relationship and their identities.
Tried to write a novel about, God, it must have been years ago. I've always been wanting to write a story in this area for years. So I started as a novel, then I wrote a one-man show, then I did a two-hander, 2 brothers in Birmingham, then a one-hander, and about 10 years I've been trying to write a story about what one loses in the pursuit of, when you try and improve your circumstances materially, what is lost along the way. And, you know, obviously drawing on my own experiences, being the son of an immigrant, you know, my parents starting with very little, nothing. My father came from extreme poverty and became incredibly successful. What is lost on the way? And then what price do you pay? So this is a story. I would have been happy if I'd just written that novel and got it that way. Then I would have been very happy.
So I imagine a beauty. It's got to be quite ceremonial. This. Like, I imagine kind of Jimmy Rasulis carrying it quite ceremoniously, and I imagine the family coming out here, walking across.
It appealed to me and my personal preferences in terms of filmmaking and the sorts of films that I enjoy watching. Horror movies and action films are fantastic, but we don't live in them. And what really appeals to me about this script is honesty in terms of real life. You laugh, you cry, You know, it's up, it's down. I'm quoting from the film now. And that's what, and the way Marcus had created this world and these characters, I knew that it was something that he honestly believed and had experienced. And once you've got that on your desk to work with, then it makes my job very easy.
Well, it was quite a snap decision on his behalf, and I made a snap response to that decision to say, yeah, let's do this. Obviously this is a hugely creative process, and I was confident that Marcus, given his experience doing a lot of drama, would be able to carry that off, and things seem to have been going well to date, so my hunch seems to have paid off from that support, and I'm happy to see it through.
Basically, she does.
Like a lot of these things, this is obviously extracurricular activity beyond the core family business, and I weighed up in my own mind, you know, the risk and reward, and we spoke about it pretty briefly, within minutes. Let's put it that way. Because I think at the heart of every entrepreneur is a realization that you cannot be risk averse. You can argue yourself out of anything in life, and it's much harder to take the other path of going for something that may not be attainable, but at least you're going for it. This is a very much a process that I have confidence and belief that my brother would fulfill, and I believe he is. See you later, I'm going to head back.
See you in a bit.
I'll see you soon. Good luck with everything. See you later. Bye. Bye.
I thought, well, here's my opportunity to put my money where my mouth is and bring in some Greek dancers. Every day of pre-production, and I imagine every day of the shoot, feels like the day I'm getting married, which is great. I'm getting married 40 times.
Working relationship from the times when I produced his short film, The Last Temptation of Chris. So that was almost the prequel to the feature film, and there was an ongoing joke on set, save it for the feature, save it for the feature. And when we wrapped, Marcus came to me about a couple of weeks later and said, I'm going to do it, I'm going to write a feature. And I was like, yeah, okay, we'll see. And blow me down, less than a year later, in January this year, the script was on my desk, the first draft. So we'd always talked about it, and very flatteringly it was always assumed that I would continue to produce for him. So that's when the relationship began. So we'd already sort of bounced around ideas. Marcus was incredibly organised in his writing by thinking about a story structure and producing a scene by scene, which was great, and it was really handy from a production point of view to sort of have a semblance of idea about characters and how this story was going to be told and the techniques that we would use. So by the time I got the script, our relationship was quite established.
What? It's more about me than just the script. Is that it's become much more complicated as we've got into it, and I kind of thought it was a different sort of film when I first read it, and I must admit I think I was taking it a bit lightly. I hadn't really grasped what it would take to do it, and as I say, as we've moved further and further into it, and I've realised just how complex it is. Because he is, yes, he's a very, very, very successful businessman, and that requires a certain, level of engagement with the world and kind of quick thinking and intelligence and ruthlessness.
Stephen is very funny, and he doesn't know it, which is even better. It's nice to have kind of Frank and Cesare around as well, because they're nearer to my age. They're quite funny.
Just the James thing, like, I thought the character would be different, but as the camera got on me, and maybe it's laziness, kind of just became an extension of me, which I'm not sure. Is that acting? I thought there was a lot more character work involved, but maybe that's... No, it's not laziness, it's something else.
Your dad...
How much can I be going for it?
I think you should be going for it, man. That's exactly right. That's all you need to do. How would you do it? If you were really doing it and you were just feeling good about life.
I got the script through, I think at the same time, but my dad wasn't sure if he was going to do it or not, and I had already got the part before he decided he was going to do it. So I'd like to think he tagged along with me, but I don't know.
When I was on the phone to him, Marcus said, what about your son? Do you think that he would be? He must have seen him somewhere else. I don't know what happened. Strictly speaking, Frank wasn't supposed to do anything because he was at RADA. But it was during his holidays, so we thought maybe it would be all right. And so he then offered, before I was able, in a position to accept the role, he offered it to Frank. He offered the role to Frank. So, yeah, I then had to choose whether I wanted to work with my son or not.
Hey. Well done for, Closed?
Got it. Oh, Frank, now.
I suppose it could have been very awkward. I don't know. I have no idea. As it's turned out, it's been just delightful from my end. I never want to work with anyone else again. The whole idea of being able to be with your children after they've left home is I'm sure any parent would go, my God, what a treat, because you sort of think that you think they've gone, and you never really get the chance to see your children in the world, just operating. You send them off to school and you sort of get feedback from other parents or teachers or stuff, but you never really, apart from spying on them when they're in the garden or something, you never really see them operate. And then to actually work with him has just been good fun, really. We just sort of worked it out. He seems to me to be very responsive and able to do it. It's just been a real pleasure.
So I actually knew about the film before I read the script. Through my publicist is an old school friend of Marcus's. So she'd read it and she said, I read it and thought of you, and then I read it and I thought it was really funny, and it's a nice rounded story. And then I met Marcus. Usually you go into a meeting and it's like, you know, they'll talk a bit, and some of them, if you know the people well, then you know you'll have a catch up in a conversation. But usually it's just like, yeah, hi, you do it, then you go, and you don't really have any idea. Whereas I went in and I was there for ages, and it was all Marcus was there, and Sarah, producer, and a load of other people. And it was just really fun. They were all really nice. We were like laughing and joking, and I made them laugh, naturally. And I came away thinking I'd really, really, really like to do that. Like, he's really great. And he asked if I had any questions for him. And I said, how do you imagine the film being? Like, he didn't really see it. He didn't want it to be like anything. He wanted it to be its own thing. And if he had to compare it to anything, which he didn't want to do, he would have gone with Little Miss Sunshine, which is what I also thought. That the kind of general vibe of the film is very that. And that's when I thought he was quite cool. And not an idiot. So yeah, why not?
I treat each actor differently. Each actor has its own way of working, so I try and tailor myself to that own individual actor and the way that they work. You've got issues with the story, you're trying to make sure, are you telling the story? Is it coming across? What am I dropping? What do I need to pick up on? What do I need to be aware of? Then you've got all the technical aspects of filmmaking. So it's so intense. It's the most difficult thing I've ever done. But it's also the most rewarding thing I've ever done, and I've had so much fun. I love the set. I love it. I love the people. I love the diversity of people on the film set.
Okay.
It's really exciting. I've got to go for a date.
We actually were able to start casting quite early, because we knew that finding our two brothers, our Harry and our Spiros, with such different characteristics and things was incredibly important, and we actually identified our Spiros quite early on in the process, and then it was about finding a Harry who could be believed and play alongside that, and so the casting process was an incredibly enjoyable one. And once you start finding your cast, then it helps you build the rest of this world that you're trying to create in terms of location and design and costume and makeup.
The cast has just been lovely. I mean, there's a lovely sense of everyone being individual and yet everyone being able to work together, and I think that's very good and very unusual, and he's created a good ensemble.
Be set.
Enough.
Something for the girls.
No more.
It's not that kind of film.
Not
for the female audience.
As
No?
it was before.
Okay, boards on, stand by. Legs with slightly more clothes.
What?
That was your idea as well, wasn't it?
Am I holding
Perhaps not as wide. We just have to really understand the style of a film, the tenor of it, the tone, and that's quite tricky in a way sometimes. That hasn't actually been that easy with this one. Establishing what the tone of the comedy is, if there is any. I think it's very nicely underplayed and understated, but you have to look after that in a way and make sure that it's happening everywhere and not, you're not doing something that no one else is doing.
No. Of course,
George has been very fun to work with, the person who plays Spiro.
What about with the European Entrepreneur Award?
I've been thinking of a very dear friend who has been in our life for many years, and who was managing the apartment where my parents live in France. Nothing scares him. He can fix anything, even if he doesn't know how. He'll find a way. he gets involved into all those adventures just because he's a can-do guy, and he's got a great sense of humor. He's got a sense of the absurdity of life, and he's very joyful. He always sees the joy in everything, in all the problems, in all the obstacles. He laughs everything away. He's an incredible model.
Okay, money is draining from Harry Papadopoulos' account.
We had the riots in London on Tuesday. We stopped shooting halfway through, and there was a feeling actually that we weren't ever going to get back. But we got back, and today's been amazing. We've been Greek dancing in the street, and it's been really beautiful. It's been really special. There is something special about dancing in the street. And it doesn't matter what culture you are. It is. It's liberating, and it's free, and it's sweet, and lots of good films end on a dance. I'm hoping this is going to be one of them.
See my dad dance? Yeah, it's funny. Well, because I've seen him rehearse at home, so he's taken the... I think he was a little bit upset with himself actually after the dancing scene. I don't think he thought he did it well enough or something. He's very hard on himself.
So apparently it's Slate 100 next, and Marcus has a big surprise for all the crew. What's that?
A beautiful film that all of us will be proud of.
And the champagne?
And the champagne. And girls, and what else is it you wanted? The girl?
3 oiled nuns and a bath of champagne.
I didn't know you had to get champagne. I really didn't. I really didn't. No one told me this stuff. No one tells you these things.
Slate 100, take one.
Hey! Yay!
Set.
Okay, set back. Okay, we're set, thank you. Quiet, please, thank you. And action.
Katie gets a boyfriend called Mehmet, who is one of the Turkish men from across the road in the kebab shop. Katie meets Mehmet, and I think at first, you know, she's just got to the fish and chip shop. She's just doing anything she can to piss her dad off. So she's smoking, and she meets him, and he's actually, you know, he's a good-looking guy, and she goes with it. But I don't think he's somebody she would have gone out with previous to arriving at the fish and chip shop.
Hello. So my name's Cesare Taraze, playing Mehmet. I'm going to show you my crib. This is the pad. This is our mint pad. What to show you first? This is our couch, which is proper comfy, and it goes out into a bed. Sometimes I like just to chill, like here, just before I go on the scene, and then I'll wake up. Oh, here's me dad. This is his dressing room as well. This is his crib.
Hello.
We're doing cribs, Dad.
What are you doing?
We're doing cribs.
Alright.
Say hello.
Listen, you want some privacy?
No, you
Sari and Spiros were childhood friends actually. They were brought up together. They were friends as children, and then they had the fish and chip shop in the past. Those guys are the best of friends, and then they've gone. The business is flourishing, but now they came back, and there is pressure now.
Remember when we were children, when we were friends? We weren't Greeks, Turks. Respectfully, I would like you to take your kebabs off the menu.
I got the script, and it was clearly a very low budget film, and there was to be no money in it at all. And I felt as if it had been sent on spec a little bit, actually. So I had to check that this was actually going to be made, and then but I really liked it, and I quite wanted to do it because I keep getting sent scripts for bent coppers and these sort of authority figures who are more or less sort of corrupt, and I don't know what that says about me, but I was really happy to receive something that was more light-hearted.
Sam. Oh yeah.
Take two.
We don't have any seat belts. Wait. Okay. Seat belts.
Don't ask.
No.
Well, anyway, we've stopped driving, so don't really need to.
You can wear yours if you like.
I would insist that you put it on.
I'll take the mine off.
I think it's a bit too much business.
Thank you. Now we've got another one going. Hang on, keep coming.
It's an automatic rating over 15 for no seatbelt wearing.
Lately, while these cars are buggering around, still running.
Well, we're stopped though, aren't we?
No.
Oh, I see. We just rolled up and stopped. Yeah, maybe we should. I can wear mine if you want.
Say, hold the roll, please.
Low budget and independent filmmaking has its challenges, certainly, but from a production point of view, it's also incredibly enjoyable because every single penny counts and every single penny has to go on that screen to bring it to life. The only way to make it work is by having an absolute understanding and balance about how you're going to tell this story and what you need to do to achieve that. So very early on we knew that we needed to create this fish and chip shop because we felt from a creative point of view that it was really important for us as filmmakers to go on the same journey that the Papadopoulos family were going on by seeing this derelict chip shop and then bringing it back to life. So the way to make that work financially is to identify what locations are going to need a lot of work doing to them in terms of design. And if the cost needs to go into the art department, then you need to find a location that isn't going to cost you very much money. We were very fortunate that our location manager, Darren, managed to find us a street in London, a working real street that had 2 empty shops on either side, which we were able to take on the lease for the period of the filming. Which is obviously much cheaper than paying to close down a real fish and chip shop for the whole duration of our filming. So that left us what money was saved in that area. We could hand over to Julian, our designer, to basically build this fish and chip shop. I think Julian's face was one of horror when we took him to the location for the first time, and he just saw this huge expanse of warehouse and his jaw dropped, but I think quite quickly he relished the challenge and what he could do with it.
So it was supposed to be a 1970s chip shop that our main character and his brother had run for about 10 years. So it was really difficult. We had to find everything that was sort of 1970s and slightly grotty. The furniture is quite easy to find, but to find the vintage range, the chip shop range, was the hardest thing. And we had to go like around Trevor Howson, who sort of specialised in vintage period shop fittings, and source some stuff on eBay and really just sort of bring a lot of bits together to get that sort of quite derelict look. But the difficulty was then when they clean it up to make that look nice. So we had sort of 2 things to do to make a genuine 1970s chip shop, but also a genuine 1970s chip shop that still looked good.
I was really sick as well.
I'm standing in front of, oh my god, it's a van. This was Adam, our art director's van, and this van, as you can see before, is a paedophile's van on Spooks. Now it's in its second guise as a not a paedophile man, but the honest handyman. This is the brother of our main character's van, and he's a kind of a bit of an idiot, because this makes absolutely no sense at all. As you can see, if it's still broke, then we can't fix it, that's honest. And he's got some curtains in there which are very strange, mixture of being a sort of slight hippie and a bit useless, down on his luck, but he's a very nice guy, and he sort of does a bit of handywork, and it's completely full with clutter. You see, it's a stylish vehicle.
I think the biggest challenge with any independent low budget feature is of course staying on budget, but that can only be achieved by shooting your schedule essentially, and we shot this over 24 days, which is quite tight when you think about it. And the main way to ensure that you do that is just, it sounds quite simple, but shooting as much in one location as you possibly can. So we were incredibly lucky that we found this really unique location that enabled us to shoot our factory, which is the Papadopoulos factory, all of the Papadopoulos offices, and our awards ceremony and our van sequence all in the same location, which obviously really helps you because you're not losing time travelling or setting up.
I've done lower budget films, which is nice. It means when you're, we've actually been really comfortable, and everyone's lovely, and there's not been, other than the riots, there's not been any problem, and we weren't directly affected. It was just a bit of panic, and we got sent home. So it's been really easy, dare I say.
I'm always feeling pressure of time. It is like a sword of Damocles. It hangs over me. It's called 7 o'clock. I mean, in the background you can see people rushing because we've got to get 2 shots in before it hits 7 o'clock. And I have not been able to relax this whole time because of time.
I mean, I think early on in this process we lost a lot of time that we could have used. I mean, there was a lot of time when we'd stand around chatting about football, and actually there were possibly things that, had we been more focused, we might have been able to address. But neither of us quite knew the conversation to be having at that stage. We didn't quite know what we were dealing with.
That's true.
So which becomes very clear as the film goes on. That there are more and more questions. That's because everybody's more and more au fait with what's required of them, and the story is becoming deeper, and there are invariably more things to do, and then you realise how much there actually was to do right at the beginning. But
1A mark.
Okay.
Okay.
When I first met George, I was instantly attracted to him, and I remember when we first met eyes, whilst I walked into the room and I discovered he was just taking his trousers down. At the time I thought I was quite pleased for that, but it's actually just because he was having a fitting. But from there on in, once you've seen someone in that situation, it's, you can move on very quickly.
Yeah.
I think he's terrific, actually, because for me, he's very instinctive. But more than that, and most importantly, he's a very collaborative man. So he's not remotely affected by people going, I don't understand this, I just don't get it. He doesn't defend his text with a massive, incredible stone wall. He simply listens, and that's where creativity exists. Listening to actors, collaborating with the cameraman, the DOP and the team, and it's an incredibly strong crew from that point of view, but it's quite unusual, I think.
The film was an incredibly collaborative process because, of course, you then have the actors come on board with their interpretation of the script and the characters, and what Marcus did brilliantly as director was maintain that democracy on set in some ways, of letting everybody have their voice, and then it's my job to make sure that I'm seeing the bigger picture of that and making sure that the tone is being told and the integrity is maintained throughout.
It's a separate shot because we can stop, change the camera, get it, and it's this is for the montage. I need to get as many activities in the can as we can by 1:30. So any creative ideas to get as much as we can in the can will be gratefully appreciated. Like the idea of hanging that up. Bang. From the same position. Bang. Let's go.
Okay. Stephen, would you mind coming to here? This first shot we're going to do.
When he hands you check, walk over to the lady. What's my method? I read it, and 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 read it, and then all sorts of things come up, and ideas and things which are invariably crap. But they are early ones. They quite often are because they're the sort of rather. Well, the thing is, that's the thing. Some of the first impulses turn out to be very good, and you wish you'd stuck with them. But a lot of them are crude and.
Yeah. But you throw them away. But you have to have them to throw them away.
But sometimes you end up filming those crude ones, and you go, damn it. Later on, you go, shit. I wish I hadn't done that. So you're always adjusting to mistakes that you've made and decisions that other decisions that you've made. Just basically just trying to work out what you're in. And with something like this, I think it's tonally very difficult. There are scenes that you could play in 100 different ways, and in terms of tone, in terms of are they funny? Well, some of them could be slapstick almost. They're so sort of head-on, slapstick comedy almost.
But we haven't done.
We had one shot to get. How much? And as the first AD said turn over, I looked at my watch and it was 10-7. I thought we've so got time for 2 takes. So she had a glass walled, her whole office was glass. So I kind of stroll in, I walk in, I kind of do a bit of, hey, Cosima, da-da-da, chat, rhubarb. And then as I turn, I knew that her door opened to the inside, but then as I turned, I pretended as if I thought the door opened outwards, and so just did the old Kong. I was kind of going, Marcus was going, oh my God, what have you done? You've broken your nose. And I thought, oh dear, they're not finding this funny at all. So what happened was I went, oh, no, sorry, it was a joke. Sorry, no, I was kidding. It was a joke. I was not.
Which went down even worse.
And at which point the first AD went, right, let's go again.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you very much.
I'm coming to the conclusion that maybe film acting doesn't feel like acting, to be honest.
Okay.
It's not the same. Like when you're doing theatre stuff, that feels like acting. Film kind of feels just like how you look at that moment when they've got the camera on your face.
We shot a scene today which I would have put money on being sitting around a table, and it had a certain sort of feel to it, and then all of a sudden he's got us walking in a kind of CSI. What is it?
You
CSI
said
Friday.
CSI Friday.
CSI Friday. With the kind of wobbly camera and everything. The suits walking down the corridor, kind of talking.
But Stephen, it might have felt like that to you, but it doesn't really look like that.
Fair enough. But the feeling is very different. So you're adjusting to that as well. You're adjusting to something that was one sort of thing, and then you've got no time to turn. You've always got to be quick on your feet. Just got to be so quick on your feet. I always come away from a film going, how do people that are really good in films do it? How do they come up with a performance? Because there are so many variables, there are so many things that you can have no control over whatsoever. And to get to the level of sophistication in the performance that some people do get, I find absolutely staggering. It's a level of sophistication that you might get in the theatre after running a play for 3 or 4 months, and then you really get down to it, and you know what you don't have to do. That's the main thing. You know what's taken as read. You don't have to do it. You can play very, very lightly, And with film, because you never quite know what you're dealing with, it's very hard to get there, I find.
Yeah.
Cut! Cut that.
That's it.
That's a wrap!
That's a cozy. You love it.
That's a wrap.
Here's to Papadopoulos and Sons. And to the success.
Right.
And it's just, I don't feel anything. It's weird. Maybe I'll have a delayed reaction later, but you know, it's kind of, am I supposed to feel something when we wrap? I don't know. I feel excited actually, but obviously because each day has been highs and lows and sadness and joy, so it's maybe later tonight when everything is quiet, maybe tomorrow after the wrap party when it goes quiet, I'll feel sad but also excited. Is that right? I don't know.
Tragic. Are you going to do the renovation scene?
In the trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can fit it in.
No.
I cut scenes
That's longer than the trailer.
without any reference to the rest of the film. So, and they shoot out of sequence, I edit out of sequence. So you don't put the film together until you get to that first rough cut stage, which was my first week, when I had to sort of barricade the door and not let Marcus in. I didn't really. I mean,
No, you didn't. I only saw the intro, the like opening credits.
that's true.
I saw the only title sequence. Carry on.
Yeah. And so so you go from that stage to putting it all together and working through it. And then I remember going to the office on, I think, the Friday morning or the Thursday night, and I was very, very excited because I watched it through for the first time, and you know, all the things that you're hoping for, but you know, you might be a little bit concerned about, is that really going to work? Is it going to work? Am I going to get away with it? And a lot of those boxes were just going tick, 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 tick. And I was really excited, and I went running in to go and see Marcus and say, I can't wait for tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's going to be good because you're going to see it. And then I suddenly thought, oh, hang on a minute. What if I'm building it up too much? And so you go through all these like things in your head about the film that aren't necessarily based in any kind of reality, just sort of based in your own sort of hopes and fears, I guess.
Theatre probably is the same, but on a different level. It's even harder to engage the audience then, because it's just auditory. You're really listening to the play, and you're editing it as you go along. You're choosing what to see with theatre. Whereas film's doing it for you. Sit back, relax, popcorn, massive jug of Coke, hypnosis. And this goes back to why an actor cannot watch himself in a film, because he's never going to engage in that slightly hypnotic state with himself. Because he's just going to see himself, and it's going to completely jar him out every time. Oh, that's me again. What am I doing that for? I can't believe I lifted my arm on things that no one will notice. Oh, I sounded terrible on that. Look at my hair. You know, oh my God, I wish I hadn't done that funny thing with my head. Everything like that jars them out of it, out of that state. The same for us. It's very difficult to enter that kind of state of wonder that you have when you're watching a film. And that's why I think you can watch some films over and over again. You know what's going to happen. You know the next line. It doesn't matter. You're engaged in that kind of... I mean, is it hypnotic? I don't know.
I'm a very good friend of Stephen Dillane, and when he said he was working with Marcus and doing a film which is a Greek story, I said, oh, I want to do that. So I've got a huge love for Greece and Greek music, and I read the script and thought it was lovely, so that's how it all came about. Normally, and in this case, I watched the film a couple of times. I watched it with Marcus, and then on my own a few times. And then I'm just in my own workroom with a piano, looking at the screen, and I try things. And if I like them, I write them down, and then play them to Marcus. If he likes them, then I orchestrate them for the band we've got. I did something on it that I've never done before, which is I vaguely think it might be something that's worth doing again, because there's quite a range of emotion in the film, and I thought, hang on, I'll have a look on the internet. So I looked up Greek dirges, no, Greek laments, and there were a couple of really old ones. I mean, pre-0 BC, if there is, it can't be a 0 BC, can there? But more than 2,000 years old. How they recorded them then, I don't know. But there were a couple of ancient tunes, and I didn't actually use them, but I used them sort of as a starting point.
Hi, who are you under?
When you see what we do,
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming today. I was incredibly fortunate to be supported by really incredibly talented group of people. And so really, without them, there is nothing. And finally, there's you. You know, you are our first big sort of public audience. Thank you for your support. It is gratefully received by everyone. I do so on behalf of everybody. And I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.